think the hardest thing is the start because, and I still, I think, and understanding it really, we're all different. We've all got quirks. We've all got, some people, my wife puts the tins in the cupboard and has to have the labels all facing out. Do you know what I mean?
Sounds like you got a good woman there to me.
Yeah. To me, that's mad. But coming from me, that's not really a fair job.
Hello and welcome to the UK Surf Show. We are your hosts. I'm Pete.
And I'm Leighton. On this episode, we speak to Ashley Braunton.
Yes, Ashley Braunton from Braunton, who surfs in Saunton.
Yeah, there is definitely a limerick there.
There is a good limerick. We can make you.
Yeah, good longboarder.
Very good longboarder.
Yeah,
and
back competing again.
Yeah, back competing. Really good story that, he surfed, competed, and then stopped for a long time and is now back competing again. Really interesting. Talks about everything from his competing to his mental health to how and why things happened in his life. Is quite an interesting guy, actually.
Lovely guy, starting a consultancy brand. Would you call it brand?
Brand, role, I don't know. He's
company.
Company. He's it's something he's looking into that he talks about on this a bit. Where he'll give people pointers on how to become a better surfer, a better longboarder.
We definitely need that.
We definitely need that.
He's got his first two customers.
Yeah, he'll be like that. I ain't got enough time for you two, mate. This will be a full-time job.
He's doing so many things wrong. But the good thing is because of who he is and competing and things like that, and the people that he knows and the kind of circles that he moves in, you know that the information you're getting is the right information. Like he said on that, you put up a video of yourself surfing and you have 10 million people telling you
what you're doing wrong,
who probably don't know what they're doing themselves. So it'd be nice to actually get information from someone who knows what they're doing.
Yeah, definitely. Before we get into this one, we've got to say thank you to today's sponsors, who are Kosin. Kosin are a Southwest clothing brand.
Yeah, we got some T-shirts from them. My T-shirt that I got is called From the Deep. I've got it in grey. I really, really like their orange one.
Yeah, that's the one really on their website. And I have the Gentle Giant, because I'm a gentle giant.
Yeah, really? Are yours blue?
Yeah, mine's blue one. Really nice, really nice. Yeah, they're clothing.
My missus has stolen mine, actually, because I haven't seen it in ages.
Yeah. Well,
sorry, that was
random. Right then, randomly. But yeah, their clothing and their ethos is really good. They're really nice quality T-shirts. All their packaging is recycled. Their T-shirts are made out of recyclable material, and they're just a good company. Go and check them out. And we've got a discount code for them, so you can get 10% off anything you order from that, and that is UK Surf 10.
Yeah, they also help out local charities, like we've mentioned before. There's the St. Ives skater charity that they donate to help kids who can't afford skateboards buy skateboards and get into skateboarding.
Yeah, and through chatting to them, I just think they're going to go in a really good direction of the plans they've got for their company. I think they've got some good things coming. Oh, and also they've got some really nice big woolly bobble hats.
Ooh, yeah. I like a bobble hat.
I like a bobble hat.
Winter's coming.
You don't even know what that means, but
no, I don't know what you're talking about. I'm just saying what you said last time.
So on to today's episode with Ashley Braunton. Don't forget, listen to the end of the show, and we will have discount codes for Northcore to get you 15% off, and a discount code for the Logfin Co.
Here's Ashley.
My name's Ashley Braunton. I'm 38. I'm from Braunton, but born in Barnstable originally. Most of my family's grown up around here, that's me, really.
Yeah, so you're a longboarder, aren't you, Ashley? And not just kind of any normal longboarder. You're doing competitions and doing really well recently as well, aren't you?
Yeah, I mean, nowadays, are you allowed to give yourself a label? I'm not sure we are, but I predominantly ride longboards, although I grew up riding shortboards. But yeah, most of the time I ride longboards, and most of my competitive stuff's been done with longboards. And I'm just, after quite a while out of the water, I've just started doing a couple just to kind of see where I'm at, really, and compared to where I think I would be. We've had a couple of events, and I've done better than I'd expected, which is good. But it's given me a sort of clear idea of where I need to be. So that was my aim.
So you grew up riding shortboards, was that right?
Yeah, kind of, yeah. Until big shortboards that I didn't really, although I lived through the sort of 90s shortboard era with the Kelly Slater low volume shortboards. That I grew up surfing at Saunton, so most of the time.
So most of the time longboards,
To be honest, if I had the boards that I grew up surfing now, they'd be back in fashion, I think. So,
do you know what? That reminds me actually. So my son is a skateboarder, and went to buy him some skateboard jeans, and baggy jeans are back in now, apparently. And
when we were looking online,
yeah,
we went out, to be honest.
Well, that means you're walking around when everyone else is wearing skinny jeans and you're wearing baggy jeans.
No, I can't wear skinny jeans. My thighs would not allow it.
Yeah, no, I can't wear drain pipes either. So
right. So this is the thing that made me feel really old. When we were looking online for the jeans that he wants, it said retro baggy jeans.
Oh my God.
Like, retro? What? I was only wearing them last year. What's going on?
I can't even find baggy jeans anymore, but no,
well, they're back in.
I am looking for a clothing sponsor, so if there's a clothing sponsor out there that would like to give me some baggy jeans, I'm not going to complain.
Baggy jeans, yeah, I'm going to dig my blue bolts out from somewhere. That was the ones that you used to have, wasn't it, in the 90s?
Oh my God, yeah. Yeah, so, where did it all start for you then? So you grew up in Braunton and started surfing as a kid?
Yeah, I grew up in Barnstable, so just down the road, really. My dad always surfed, and obviously we being... How old were we been? I suppose when we were really sort of 5 or 6, he probably threw us in the summer. And then when we were a bit older, old enough to sort of badger him, to force him to take us, he gave in a few times. And at Saunton, as you'll know, you've got the slipway and then you've got the end of the beach huts. And he used to sort of say, right, off you go, stay between those 2 points and I'll come and check on you every now and then. So that was what we did. And then when I was a bit older, I suppose... early teens, I used to badger him to take me surfing. He'd just drop me down the beach and come back hours later and I'd still be in. And then when I suppose mid-teens, there were, I think in my school, there were about 1,200 pupils and there were 4 of us that surfed.
Down that way as well in Devon.
In Barnstable, yeah. So about less than 10 miles from the beach.
That's mad.
4 that surfed, yeah.
That is crazy. You thought it'd be more than that, wouldn't it?
I mean, I went to school with people that had never been to the beach.
What? What is wrong with them?
Yeah. And so we used to get the bus to the beach and things like that, and hitch and blag lifts and get lifts with bin men and whoever would give us a lift, really. Teachers used to come past, like I say, bin in the back of bin lorries and anything, really. And then if we couldn't get a lift, once we were at Saunton, if we were going to go to Croyd or Pottsville, we'd just walk.
With the board?
Yeah, all your gear, yeah.
Christ.
That's bad enough. You go surfing at Saunton, you come out and the tide's right out and you look at that walk back after a session, you just think... oh, God.
Yeah, I remember one day surfing Saunton for about 3 hours one morning and the swell was due to pick up, but the wind was due to go southerly. And I walked round to Croyd and it was pumping, but you could see that wind was just starting to make it a bit ragged. So I just carried on walking and walked to Pottsborough and waited for the tide to come up, surf there for a few hours and then walked back to Down End to get the bus home.
That's dedication for you, isn't it?
That's fitness.
I wouldn't be able to do it now.
That's the thing, none of us would. It's bad enough that walk up the beach, as I was just saying.
It's bad enough to drive.
Oh, yeah. Well, for us, yeah. So you started at a young age and then you went on to competitive longboarding, is that right? Not intentionally. I never really thought about doing contests. It wasn't something that I planned to do. The Jesus Surf Classic, which I'm going to the longboard event this weekend at Polseth, the Christian Surfers run. They ran the shortboard, most of the shortboard event last weekend at Croyd. Phil will have to forgive himself to Phil, really, but I think it's about at least 20 years. So that was always on at Croyd. My mate wanted to do it, so we went and did that. I think that was when I was in the under 14s, so I was 13 or 14 then. Did that. Didn't do particularly well, but we had a good laugh. So from then on, I did that, and then some guys that I surf with got involved with the longboard club at Saunton, now the Hot Doggers Surf Club. That sort of started to take off a bit as the longboard scene sort of grew again. Dad got a couple of boards from America through Al Brooks, who had Chapter at the time, and had a go, really, and it just sort of grew from there. So how long were you competing on that first bit? I know you said you weren't intentionally competing, but how long was the period of you sort of entering competitions and seeing what you could do and where you were at?
I probably competed sort of what you would call full-time from when I was about 17, I guess. And then I had a couple of years out. So the Hot Doggers League it was bigger entry-wise than the British Longboard Union events. It was really competitive, and we had guys like Elliot Dudley, Ben Howarth, James Parry and Ben Skinner came up for all events, things like that. It was really competitive. And then everyone sort of moved off and did their own thing and weren't always there. So I had a couple of years out then, but I probably stopped doing any contests when I was around 30.
And when you stopped doing contests, did you stop surfing altogether as well, or did you just stop contests?
No, I didn't do some. I didn't really sort of. I did definitely lost some motivation, possibly because those guys weren't competing as well. So other things in life happen, and then I got a proper job, and that proper
That's
job.
Never good for a surfer. A proper job.
Honestly, I wouldn't recommend it to anyone. And then I was away. I was always away. So when I got back at weekends, I was just tired and wanted to spend time with family, friends. So I just got out of the routine, really, and I didn't have any motivation to get in. And then over time, that obviously had an effect on my body, and the stress of the job had an effect on my mind. And when I did try to surf, I could barely get to my feet because my back was so bad and things like that, really. So it just went out of my sort of conscious, really.
Oh, right. So it was just like the lack of surfing. That's what you used for your fitness, was surfing like before that?
I was surfing every day possible, at least once.
Yeah. So that's a big.
So when that stops, that's it. You're
big change, isn't it?
Yeah, especially if you were doing that since you were, well, almost like forever, really, since you were a kid.
Yeah,
that's quite a massive shock to your system, I suppose.
Yeah. I mean, my now wife and I went on holiday, our first proper holiday, and we went to Dominican, and we weren't going somewhere where there was waves, and she'll kill me. That was probably just after I was 30, I guess. That was the first time I've been abroad that wasn't a surf trip.
Oh wow!
God.
Yeah.
So did coming out of the water and stopping surfing? I know you said it's because of the job. Did coming out of the water affect your physical and mental health more than the job affected your physical and mental health? So what I'm trying to say in a roundabout way, which way round do you think it affected you most?
I think one kind of led to the other, really. I mean, obviously the downside of getting up at 4 or 5 o'clock on a Monday morning and driving for 8 to 10 hours a day, most days away from the sea, meant that there wasn't the option to surf, and that the effect of that on your body, on your hamstrings, your back, your glutes, and everything else that affects your back and your knees. And then trying to eat healthy whilst on the road is, I don't know how people do it unless you prepare all your meals before you go. It's near on impossible. And then added to that, working in a sales environment, it is very much a drinking culture.
Yes.
Meetings are done in pubs, in curry houses, in wherever else, where you go to a show or you have meetings, and in the evening you go and have a few beers with someone, and it just becomes normal. So all of a sudden you're drinking something every night of the week.
Yeah.
And that becomes normal. So and over just over 6 years, I think, I went from 14 stone to 19.6.
Wow, that's
bloody hell! All because of the job and being away from the sea. Oh my god!
Yeah,
that's quite an achievement.
Yeah, that's a lot of Stella. That's a lot of Stella.
Yeah. So did that itself become a problem then, the drinking and everything, or was that something?
I think the routine was the problem. It was, it just becomes routine, and I like beer. I mean, I've got a beer here now that's 0.0%, so it's very stronger than Carlsberg.
Yeah.
But, I've had one of those days where I feel like I want to have a beer after work, so that's what I'm having. But, it just became routine, and then you get home from being away all week, you haven't seen anyone, and everyone's going to the pub, so you go to the pub.
Yeah.
And in that environment, there's for living in the Southwest, you're earning half decent money, so you can afford to go to the pub or have a takeaway or do this or do that. But at the same time, I wasn't spending time with those friends who were going surfing because my time was so limited at home.
In your mind, then, when your lifestyle changes like that, your mind doesn't realise that your body's changed, and you still think you're at that level of fitness. Oh, I can still ride a surfboard. I can still be as good as I was.
Maybe to some extent, but I think for me it was when I was sort of surfing all the time. If I didn't surf for a week, say, I felt it.
Right.
If I didn't surf for 2 weeks, I knew it 100%. So because I was sort of that paddle fit, I knew the effect it was going to have when I got back in the water. And the couple of times I went back in the water, it was just demoralizing, really, to think how far away I was from where I had been and where I wanted to be, just fitness wise, really.
Yeah. So that was quite shocking. Then that surf back. Then did that, like, how did you change your life from that point? Then.
So I tried to surf a couple of times. The second time, as I say, my back was so bad that I could barely get to my feet, and that was the day I sold every board I had, every wetsuit I had, everything I had to do with surfing.
So
oh my God!
You didn't take that lightly, then?
No. I can be a bit reactive sometimes, but
that statement, that statement's all you need to say. I couldn't do it, so I sold everything.
Yeah, I mean, we feel like that a lot of the times. Like when you come out the water and you've had a bad session, like, oh, this is ridiculous, get rid of it. I don't want to see it again.
But I think it's more the thought of how can I ever go surfing again and actually be happy with it.
Yeah.
So that was sort of that. And then I got married and we'd been trying for a baby for a while. And I'd already decided that if and when my wife got pregnant, the day I found out, I would hand my notice in.
That's nice.
And I didn't have to hand my notice in because I got made redundant the week before I handed my notice in. So,
oh, right. So that is kind of a blessing in disguise, then, I suppose, because, redundancy package for a start.
Yeah. I got paid to leave rather than leave with nothing. So I'm not complaining.
Yeah. So what was the step then? What did you do after you found out you're having a baby? You just been paid to leave a job?
My only thought was get a job that's not stressful. Don't worry about the money. Just get a relatively normal job. I hadn't even thought about it, to be honest, that much. I actually interviewed the week that I left for a sales role, and when they described the job, it was for a friend actually, and he described the job to me, and didn't sound too bad. And when we sat down in the interview and he described it in more detail, I was like, actually, that's exactly what I'm trying to get away from. They didn't offer me the job, fortunately, at the time. And then I took a job working for a social housing organisation, starting sort of at the bottom of the rung, really, basically a glorified labourer. And then I got a phone call to see if I wanted the sales role, and I was like, no, I'm all right, thanks. But it was 37 hours a week.
Yeah.
Get home by 5 o'clock every day. I could, so all of a sudden I had options again.
Yeah. And is that when you decided to pick surfing back up then?
Well, partly at my wedding, because I'll have to find the video and show it to you. But I had 5 best men because my wife kept hassling me about best men, and I couldn't decide. So I had 5.
5 best men.
Yeah,
the speech must have been a nightmare.
No, it was amazing. You actually see the video. It was unbelievable. They did. So my wife loves Disney. They rewrote a Disney song each and performed it as a group.
That's cool.
But they rewrote each song in a way that was relevant between them and myself.
Oh, that's clever.
Oh, right.
Yeah, it was pretty amazing, really. And
I can imagine that being a YouTube viral video.
The only thing is, I think the only copy of the video we had a lot of background noise or something. So, but I will find it anyway and send it over.
Yeah, definitely.
And in there were a lot of references to getting back in the sea. So that did get me thinking about it, with the change of jobs and things like that. And, and I just realized I needed to grow a pair, really, and get back in the water one way or another, somehow, on something.
So, I was reading on your blog before tonight that you said on that point when you were getting married, you were at quite a low point in your life.
Yeah.
Was that something you could expand on a bit of how bad things were or how bad you were feeling at the time?
I think, I mean, it's difficult because obviously it wasn't a low point in many ways. It was an amazing point. And half of me was really happy. I had everything. We had everything going for us, and everything was great. But the other half of me was in that situation, in a job where I was unhappy. My employers knew I was unhappy. My friends knew I was unhappy, and there needed to be some kind of change. And I just couldn't see where that was going to come from. Yeah. So that kind of just built up, really, I think. And then it wasn't really, I don't think, until after sort of a bit of time after I left that I realised quite how bad it was, really.
Yeah, it's something you can't see when you're in it yourself a lot of the time.
No, well, it came to a head probably, I can't remember exactly, probably about a year before I left the role that it came to a head. And my wife marched me to the GP. I sat there shaking, and the GP just looked at me and was like, right, okay, we need to do something. But yeah, the main thing was actually just having a conversation about it, and actually someone sitting there and going, yeah, you're not well. So it sort of all sort of stemmed from that, really, that relief of actually the next day waking up and going, well, okay, that's happened now. I can try and sort of move on and at least discuss what's going on in my head.
Do you think it was that point where your life turned around again?
I think that was probably a huge moment, because I think without that happening, I don't know where, I don't know where we would have ended up, or where I would have ended up. I dread to think, really. I don't like to think too much about the, things that I'd thought and things that I sort of, how close I came. But yeah, I was lucky. I had my wife there to basically slap me around the face and, in a way, and say, right, that's it, sort it out.
Yeah.
Which ultimately is what it takes sometimes.
Yeah, definitely.
So and then that at least I could see when it came to when we did get married, and I knew that I hadn't been in a particularly great place. I could see, I had clarity, I knew that I was really happy in many ways, but I also knew that these things had to change.
Yeah.
These are the things that are hanging on and making me unhappy. So these have got to change. And once that's changed, I can then move on to the next step, which is having more time to do the things that I want to be doing, not what someone else is expecting me to be doing.
Yeah, definitely. And like the talking about it side, I that's a thing that a lot of, especially I'm going to say a lot of men find difficult, because we all know we've all got like wives and partners that can just chat, but I know men find it especially difficult to like open up and start talking about things like that. And how difficult was that at the start to open up and work through it, and have you continued to do it?
I think the hardest thing is the start, because I still, I think, and understanding it, really, we're all different. We've all got quirks. We've all got, some people, my wife puts the tins in the cupboard and has to have the labels all facing out. Do you know what I mean?
Sounds like you got a good woman there to me.
Yeah. To me, that's mad. But coming from me, that's not really a fair judgment, is it? So, but we all have quirks and we all have different ways, and there's different levels. And ultimately, my issue is anxiety, and that just was exacerbated by stress.
Yeah.
And I had wrong coping mechanisms. That's all it is. Mm. And it's, as I know when you were talking to the guy from Blogfinco, it's an imbalance.
Yeah.
And it's just trying to get that balance right. And if you can just get that balance at least close to right, your whole life will change.
Yeah.
So it just, and now I don't care. I'll just say it. I'll talk to anyone.
That's why you're talking to us.
Yeah. But I'll just say how it is. If you're not feeling good, then talk about it, because someone else, there's every chance that the person you're talking to has either been there or is there themselves.
Yeah, definitely. Well, the amount of people now with, I think, there's different things, like you were saying, like, job and lifestyle stress was happening. I think there's even more of it in the world now because of stuff like social media and stuff. As great as it is, and as much as we all use it all, there's so many people that their whole life revolves around their social media presence.
And also you're trying, it kind of makes you feel like you've got to compete. Like everybody that you see on Instagram or something like that, they seem to portray this perfect life. And that can then also make you more anxious. Like, well, why am I not like that? And it can be really negative, actually. So I think you do need time off from it.
You do. But, part when I was really unwell, there was a period where I probably should have had a couple of years off. But it was quite interesting that a friend of mine actually said to me a couple of years ago, he said, well, my life's not perfect, but I don't put the bad stuff on Facebook.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, but that's not a true reflection of yourself, is it?
No.
Yeah. I think that's the thing. That is the thing that everyone does. Nobody wants to share the bad stuff, and I think more people need to.
Yeah, well, I think that's what you've been doing recently, haven't you? You've been saying how it is on there, and the fact that you've had struggles and things like that. And like you said, by talking about it, you can talk to someone who is going through it or has been through it, and they will relate, and it'll actually make them feel better knowing that they're not alone going through something like that.
I think the first time I mentioned it on Facebook, I had 3 people that I knew locally that I wasn't close friends with. There were, friends of friends or people that I knew that all messaged me and said, I know exactly what you're talking about. If you want to talk, ring me anytime, 24/7, and gave me their phone numbers.
Yeah, that's great, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I was blown away straight away because they had been through things or were going through things, and they've been through that first stage, of talking about it and being able to say, I'm struggling.
I think that's the difficult thing. Like you're saying, like the log finco when we were talking to him, and it is that thing. A lot of men have it, and I suppose women have it as well. But I know, speaking from like personal experience, a lot of men have it with that. I'm a man. I shouldn't be feeling like this. I shouldn't have these feelings. I shouldn't be talking about stuff. Like that sort of British stiff upper lip. I'm a man sort of thing, and it's bullshit basically, isn't it? It's just you've just got to start talking, and
as
start
you said,
anywhere.
like, as soon as you started talking about it, it then became a lot easier, and you started to move through it. So how long did that period last for, like, of you being unhappy and then getting to the point where you changed your job, and like how long was that?
I don't know. I guess it's an ongoing thing really for a couple of years. So I was in my last job for about 3.5 years. Probably the last year of that, I was kind of pretty settled really. But as I've mentioned, I stopped drinking nearly 2 months ago, and that's made a huge difference as well.
Yeah.
Just again, routine, admiration for those guys that can go out on a Saturday night and have 3 pints. That's cool. That's great. I seem to be stuck. If I get into a routine and it's there, it's too easy to just say yes. So it's easier for me just to go, do you know what? I won't have it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And see how it goes. And that's made a massive difference. So if anyone out there is struggling at all and wondering what they can do to give it a go, try not having any beers for a couple of months. It might be the difference you need.
Yeah.
Definitely. So what was the difference? So after that period of your life, has your life changed since getting back in the ocean? And if it has, how and what have been the positive effects of that?
I guess you've got a lot of the stuff, the obvious stuff, haven't you? That you're just doing exercise has a huge impact on your brain and on your body and everything else. Trouble is, who really, really enjoys going running all the time?
The guy next to me likes running. He's an idiot. I can't stand it.
I'll do it, and if I can really be bothered, I'll do it. And after a mile or two, when I'm fit enough, it's all right for a bit. But it's not the same as doing something fun.
No, I must admit, no, it's not. I mean, the only reason that I got into it quite like a few years ago, I really, really got into running and joined a local running club and stuff like that. But it was the running club that kept you going, and because there was a social scene around it, and that's really, you go to races together, and there was like
he just wanted some new friends, really.
Yeah,
and so that's what kind of spurred me on with running. I mean, now I must admit it is difficult when it's pissing down with rain and it's the winter, and you think, I could really, need to get a run done this week,
Well, a mate of mine's a very good runner, and he said to me when I was sort of like, right, I need to do something about this, I need to start trying to do something. And he said to me, it doesn't matter how good a runner you are, or how dedicated you are. I said, getting out the door is the hardest part. Once you're out the door, you're out.
Yeah, once you're out the door, you've done the run. Yeah. That's definitely right.
Yeah, I was listening to a podcast. This is called the Hubermann Podcast, and really interesting about like dopamine levels in your brain and how it affects your everything from addiction to like exercise, and how you can trick the brain into doing different bits and pieces. And it's a really interesting concept to people. Some people will hate exercise, but you can do things to make your brain think you enjoy exercise and stuff like that. And it's a really interesting podcast that I'll put a link to on this episode actually. But
Yeah, we'll stick it in the show notes. Yeah. So
I'm into any kind of cheating when it comes to doing exercise.
It goes really in depth. He's a neuroscientist, and I think it's at Stanford University in America. And he's just mind blowing the way he works everything out and tells you how things work. And you're listening to it, and he does that thing, sort of like Brian Cox does, explain science in such a way that the average person can go, oh yeah, that makes sense actually.
Yeah.
And it's mind blowing. Some of his episodes on there, but yeah,
it's a life hack.
Yeah, it is a life hack.
Just to go back to your point about the running club, really, one of the big things for me was that obviously it was my mates that were desperately trying to get me back into the water. So part of it was sort of that social side, but as part of the issues that I had with anxiety, the thought of being around the group of people that I used to spend all that time with at the beach, be it just surfing or at contests, that I couldn't face that. I just couldn't. I don't know. I had a mental block that I was just embarrassed. I was embarrassed to even think to be around those people, really, which I knew was stupid, but at the same time, I couldn't help but feel like that.
Yeah.
So I had to grow a pair and just go, do you know what, just go surfing and stop worrying about it.
Yeah. So now you're back surfing, or what does it feel like now? Have you've got that passion and that love back for surfing again?
Yeah, I'd like some waves, to be honest.
This weekend, isn't it?
Yeah, this weekend's coming, isn't it?
Well, yeah, I know. We get to share it with the whole of Southern England, I expect. But yeah,
yeah.
I was frothing for it. Once I got back in and had a couple of surfs where I surfed okay, and I wasn't thinking I was going to drown every paddle out.
Yeah.
I was okay, and I thought actually I can surf. Every other wave was average, which was a lot better than I expected. And I'd been working a manual job, so my back had improved, and my body was starting to feel stronger again because I wasn't sat on my backside all day. And that all started to come together. And I thought, actually, there is scope here. Yeah. And I thought, I'm not going to put pressure on myself. I'm not going to go and train like mad. I'm not, I've got a family.
Yeah.
I've got a job to do. I've got a life. I'm not going to go mad, but it's just steady, see how it goes. And, and then getting to see everyone again, you forget how many friends you've missed. I've got friends whose kids are now teenagers, and I remember them as tiny little 1-year-olds and stuff. It's just crazy.
Yeah, you can't be surfing. You're one. Yeah, that sort of thing. Is
well, look at Luke. Last time I saw Lucas Skinner he was one, and then last weekend I was surfing with him in a contest.
Jeez,
and
he's not
awesome.
that bad, is he?
he gets by.
I've seen video footage surfing at the Bristol Wave, and he's pulling airs at the Bristol Wave.
Mad.
Oh, easy.
Yeah.
He's amazing. I watched him at the English, and he's unreal, and he's a lovely lad as well.
Yeah,
brilliant little lad. So, bright future. Bright future ahead.
You say got back into surfing, and I was getting some average waves. I saw the photos and some of the pictures and video on Instagram of your average wave. Your average wave to me is like, fucking hell, look at that guy.
They're the best ones, though. I don't share the bad ones.
I'm going to use that. We only share the bad ones of us. That's what it is.
That's where you're going wrong.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, because I haven't got any good ones. That's right.
But that came about by accident because I signed up for Surfline on the free trial because my friend of mine showed me his cam rewind of a wave at Putsborough, and he said, "Oh, can you have a look at this?" He wanted a couple of tips, so I was like, "I didn't know you could do that." I went and had a look. He said, "Oh, you got to be a member." So I was like, "Okay." So I signed up for the free trial. And then I forgot to cancel it. And I thought, so they'll only take a month out. And they took a year out. So I thought, well, they've rinsed me. I'm going to rinse them.
Well, too right. Because I know I posted a little video of my terrible cross step that I did a while ago where it was absolutely awful. But you sent a message and said, if you want any tips, that's you're happy to do that. But I've seen on your website as well that you're going to be doing consulting as well for people.
Well, it's something that it's something that it's sort of a plan for the future potentially. It's something that I want to just, it's not really a money making thing. It's not something, ultimately, it's never going to make me rich anyway. But I think there's a lot of people out there that they don't want to go to a surf school.
Yeah.
And I'm not knocking surf schools. I know a lot of guys that work at surf schools. I've got a lot of friends that work at surf schools, and they do most of them do a fantastic job. Most of the ones that didn't do a fantastic job, fortunately, have disappeared nowadays.
Yeah.
But they don't. This is going to sound really bad. A lot of surf schools teach intermediate and advanced surfing with below level intermediate surfers.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I know exactly what you mean by that. Yeah.
And there's guys that want lessons or would like some coaching or advice from people that are better than they are. So they're not going to pay for someone who's not as good a surfer as they are. And it's not cheap. It's not cheap. So there's big scope for the surf schools. That's fantastic. And you can learn a lot. You can come from beginner up to an intermediate and do all of that probably a lot quicker than you would do any other way. But in this country, compared to a lot of countries in the world, we have got a huge number of intermediates.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And some of those have ridden longboards for maybe 10 years and don't feel like they've ever improved.
Preaching to the choir.
Yeah. I learned when I was a teenager from watching videos and then from being away at contests and talking to guys to the top pros and surfing with them and learning little tweaks and how they did things. And that was what I did with my weekends,
Yeah, so you've got a lot of knowledge around learning to surf and getting better at surfing and improving then.
Kind of shortcuts in a way, Yes, it is. Yes, you have got to repeat what it is that you're learning. And with surfing, obviously being a slow learning curve, the repetition is difficult, especially when everywhere is different, things like that. I did spend hours and hours and hours in the sea repeating these things.
Yeah.
But they can be learned if you've got the right steps in place to start with. So I just want, I'm just looking at working with a few people. There's some people have offered other services in exchange, and things like that. So there's lots of scope for it. I just want to see how it works for people and how responsive people are to it, really. Unfortunately, with the run of waves we've had, I've not actually been able to do anything.
It's been bloody awful, hasn't it?
It has.
But I know you sent on that little video, going back to what I was saying about that little cross-step video, I think you said to me, yeah, you just need to lean forwards a bit more when you're walking forwards. And I did that, and instantly it was just like, bang, oh, right, that works. Like, yeah.
It can be, and that's the thing, is, someone who's watched enough surfing, watched enough competitive surfing as well, because you're watching a lot of high level surfing, you can see technique. And if someone was to post a video up, it's actually fairly easy to sort of put a couple of things right. The problem being that if you put a video up on Facebook or YouTube, there's 10 million experts out there.
Yeah, that's true.
Who are more than ready to tell you what you're doing right, or what you're doing wrong. Sorry. Yeah. So all I want to do is actually work with individuals who want to improve specific areas and put my experience their way and see if it works for them, really.
So is that up and running now? Have you launched that?
No, not as such. It's only very much on at the moment. I'm just on a casual thing, talking with a few people locally to see what I could do to help them and see how responsive they are to it. If it works and they feel that there's scope for it, then I will go into it perhaps a bit more in the next couple of years. But I am looking to put some videos together just on those basic stepping stones to get those basic things working for people, so it's easier for me to explain to them. That's something I want to work on as well.
Yeah, definitely. That's going to be really, really useful, especially for UK surfers, because obviously you are one and stuff. But me and Pete will definitely take you up on, like, we'll come down and, like pay you and stuff to give us a hand, because I feel like we're kind of stuck a little bit. So
right. Well, this then comes into a very difficult situation, because living in North Devon, all of our beaches are privately owned, and if you don't have a license, you can't teach on a beach.
Oh, what?
That's mad.
But you can go surfing with someone.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
that's true.
So we'll have to go surfing together, and then
talk about it before and afterwards.
I just cut all this bit out.
Yeah.
So
we can go surfing and chat about it. That's, that's where I'm at with a few people at the moment.
Yeah.
Do that. And then if that works and the things I put in place work for them, then cool. Then there's scope for me to do something more moving forward.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
That's definitely. So I know when I was saw you posting something the other week about like sponsorship and the cost of like competing and stuff like that again.
Yeah.
What sort of costs are they? Because, I think most people out there like me thought, well, you just go along and enter a competition and that's it.
Yeah.
You don't really give it much more thought than that.
No, well, you don't. And to be honest, not having done it for so long, I hadn't really thought about it. I mean, to be fair, when there were quite a few of us sort of in our mid-late teens going to contests, normally it involved turning up on the Friday night, getting smashed, sleeping on the car park floor, throwing up, going surfing all day, and then repeating it again the Saturday night and the Sunday. But
could you imagine trying to do that now?
I was going to say, you don't fancy doing that anymore.
It just feels horrible.
Yeah, especially now I've not been drinking. It wouldn't take many, and I'd be gone.
The thing is, back then though, you could do that and be fine and perform, and it'd be fine. If you did that now, like if I drank now to the point where I was smashed, I think it'd take me about 2 weeks to get over it.
I can't do it. I can't do anything with a hangover. That was part of the reason I had to give up. Yeah. Well, with contests. So one of the first things that came up before I came back was I looked. There was a British Longboard Union event at Saunton, and it was the first contest that I looked at and thought, I'm not quite there. I'm not quite ready. I don't feel comfortable turning up and putting a rash vest on, even though it's at home. So I went down and watched a bit. And I looked at entry fees and things like that, and I had a chat with the guys that were there, and there weren't many there. There was low numbers at this contest, and it was a bit of a shame, really. And that was when Ben Skinner had just come back from New York, I think, from the Worlds. So I hadn't seen him for donkey's years. So it was nice to sort of catch and chat with him and a few of the others. But I added it up, and it was £60 to enter 2 divisions.
Yeah.
And there was no prize money.
Yeah, and I suppose, and if you're travelling around as well, it's the cost of the fuel and the place you stay in.
Well, I actually wrote a letter to Sam Bleakley, who was the Surfers representative. It was obviously pre-COVID, so this was just before the season I was planning on having a crack again. And I said, look, it's no wonder the numbers are so low. People can't justify paying £60 per event, and they're not going to win anything. There's no chance of winning anything. Anyway, so I've since sort of looked into it a bit further, and most surf contests now, really, to have any chance of getting any real media coverage or appeal to the masses, they have live scoring.
Right.
I don't know if you saw there was the live scoring at the English. So you had it on an app on your phone.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So you had an app, you could see live score. It had all the schedule and everything else.
Yeah.
The BLU event uses a slightly different system, but they have live scoring as well. That live scoring, generally speaking, is a paid license that somebody or a company will have that they charge the event to use.
Oh, right. Jesus. Yeah.
So they have they lease all the kit. They turn up with all the kit. They lease the kit. They charge for the service, and they manage it on site for the weekend. So they've got that. They have to pay their judges. If their judges have a certain level qualification, they have to pay them more. Those judges used to be just like, £60 for coming down the beach and I'll buy you a couple of beers in the evening.
Yeah.
Now they get paid fairly well. They get paid a day's wage, but they also get fed throughout the weekend. They often get somewhere to stay. Not always, but often get somewhere to stay. There's obviously increased cost, but at the same time, they want to bring the level of the judging up, and that's a way they want to do that. Mm-hmm. So they've got those costs to be incurred, which means it shrinks that entry fee money down. And there's not enough in the pot to pay for all these things to try and get the coverage that they want to bring surfing up a level, if you like.
Yeah.
So the sponsors that come in, 99% of those sponsors now aren't surf brands.
Yeah.
They are either a group of companies locally who all put a little bit in between them to help cover. But the major of the English was covered by the Caravan and the
Caravan and Motorhome Club or something.
Yeah, I noticed that.
One.
What's the relevance of that? Yeah.
Well, the Boardmasters was sponsored by Goodrich Tyres.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and the surfing's having to go to these events to get that coverage. I mean, to go back to the main point, if you were going to an event in this country, I've worked out there's about £120 per event if you don't drink and if you don't eat out.
Yeah, that's ridiculous, isn't it? I mean, you can't.
Well, you're kind of limiting the amount of surfers that can go, because that's not possible for a lot of
and
people.
that's without accommodation.
Yeah. And obviously then it's not always going to be at your local, is it? So you've got to travel around to be able to get yourself noticed. So it does get very expensive, and that's going to be without the travel costs as well.
Yeah. So I think when the British Longboard Union event last weekend actually had a really big turnout, which was great. It was fantastic. And they managed to have prize money, which was brilliant. Yeah. But they're so reliant on their sponsors, and I just think it's really bad that the surfing industry, and this isn't aimed at UK brands, this is aimed at surfing industry as a whole, put nothing back into grassroots.
Well, do you think that might change now because of surfing in the Olympics? I mean, that seems to be where it goes, isn't it? As soon as that's got some kind of world stage, then they do start doing things like that. But do you think that will happen for surfing?
Honestly, no. I think the money from that will be that there is money going into coaching for some of the youngsters now, which is great. I think that there may be events at places like the Wave that might get good coverage because it's easier to get those banners seen and things like that. But if the problem is events at the beach, you can't guarantee that it's going to be sunny and no wind and perfect waves and that 5,000 people are going to turn up and watch. If it's a horrible rainy day at Perranporth, you're not going to get many people turn up to watch when they can't even see the surfers.
Yeah. Well, I suppose that's with the Wave, that is where things could change slightly because you can guarantee the waves and, within reason, you can see the surfers anyway. And even if it's raining, it's not like there's enough shelter there and there's, use an umbrella or whatever, you're going to be all right. And there's a cafe and everything there. So
why didn't they put a roof on it?
Oh, that's true. Yeah, I never thought about that, actually.
Well, you imagine the cost of the place, how much it was. I bet the cost of adding a roof to that would be astronomical.
It was 26 million, I think, for the whole place. And I've recently learned that is actually not like all onto the actual the waveguard technology. I think the waveguard technology was like 3 to 4 million. So it was the whole place. It was the majority of the cost was everything else, which instantly made me think, like, if you won the lottery, you could have a waveguard for 3 million quid.
And you could put a roof on it and put floodlights in it, and you could run it for an extra 8 hours a day.
I must admit, because I don't think there is floodlights there, is there? Is it floodlit? No, because I've noticed the times of the sessions.
I think when we were chatting to Nick, he said they have to stop by a certain time because of they're not allowed to make noise after a certain time around there because of
but
there's the cows,
something like that.
But in the summer you can get on like a later session, and in the winter you can't. It's gone down to like 5 o'clock now, so it must have something to do with the nights drawing in. Maybe it's not floodlit or whatever. I don't know.
We were just talking about it when we went there. We were saying if you were to put a roof on it with floodlights, and you could also, if it had sides, it was completely enclosed, so indoors.
Yeah,
you could have fans running. It could be offshore every day.
Yeah.
And
you could make it. You could be surfing in board shorts. That'd be nice.
That's the other thing.
Because it gets bloody. Have you been in the winter yet?
I went. When did we go? I think we went in. It was cold. I mean, it was. I think it was 10 or 11 when we went.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's.
I surfed the day before, actually, randomly, and it made feel like Barbados.
That's difficult to do.
Not visually, obviously.
Yeah.
I mean, we went and it was it 4 degrees or something like that?
No,
I think the water was 4 degrees. Yeah, it was one of those ones when, when you sat there, because obviously you're in that queue and you have to wait, and my feet had gone completely numb. And I went to stand up on the board, and I had nothing. I had nothing there. My foot was just asleep, and I was like, "This is no fun."
Personally, I wouldn't want to pay for that experience.
Yeah, I think they're on about closing in January to do all their maintenance and everything, which will make sense because it's so bloody cold there. Then that it's just unbearable.
Yeah.
So with the sidetrack that we went off on there, totally, from away from sponsors and stuff like that. How difficult is it to get sponsorship now in the UK? Then is that something you found difficult?
I guess, well, things are obviously very different nowadays. I guess, like I'm saying with surf contests, it's quite interesting that surf brands don't really, like I say, put money in. Distributors do, and shops do. They'll put in what they can afford, but obviously it's not a great time for them. But the big brands, all they're interested in doing is getting their quickest return possible. So guys like Lucas, and the top guys for the next sort of 10 years above him, they'll all be getting deals because they're getting shots in the mags and they're high priority. But outside of that, I think actually the majority of the people interested in backing surfing, whether it be surfers or events, are people that want to diversify their business and want to break into new markets.
Yeah.
Which is something that surfing's never been that clever really in the past. But it's sort of starting to realise now, actually, using its appeal. There's no reason why any brand can't represent. I mean, the European Longboard Championships in France was sponsored by Orange back in the day, and they were the only real sponsor for it. And that was years ago, but no one really sort of twigged onto that idea.
Yeah. No, it's mad because like the amount of money that sponsors could actually get a return on by sponsoring surfing, and they just seem to, as you said, have totally missed it and just gone, oh well, it's just, especially within the UK. And I don't know if that is because of like we were saying, the unpredictability of the weather and the waves, and you could put the amount of times we've seen contests on, and then last minute, it's cancelled because the forecast is crap.
But how do you? I mean, how can you put a business proposal together to a brand for a surf contest when you don't know how many people are going to follow the scores, you don't know how many people are going to come to the beach, you don't know how many entrants there are going to be until 5 days before?
Yeah.
It's really hard to actually put a business proposal to someone to back an event.
Yeah.
A lot of it's done on faith, and that kind of leading on to sponsorship for people. I mean, I didn't even think about it when I was surfing again. I didn't even think that was ever something that I'd even consider. I was just thought I'll just go and buy a board and a wetsuit, and it doesn't really matter what it is. But I did actually. Someone said to me, he said, "Oh, if you want some boards, I can do them trade for you," sort of thing. And I was like, "Okay, cool." Anyway, as it turned out, they couldn't get any boards, so because there was no stock, so that went out the window. So I did go back to Richard and Tara, who are the distributors for Surf Tech in the UK, who had been looking after me before, and without even questioning it, they said, "Yep, no problem. Of course we will."
That's brilliant.
And I can't thank them enough. They did an amazing job, and there was never a question asked. They gave me everything I needed. So I rode for them again for I don't know, a year or so, and then I wasn't that happy with being stuck on one sort of construction that I wasn't fully confident in.
Yeah.
The construction changed, and I wasn't totally confident in the new construction. I thought I'm too old to be trying to promote something I'm not 100% about.
Yeah.
So I thought, rather than having doubts in the back of my mind, I'll just see what happens. So I thank them, and now I'm Glenn at Surf Doubt's looking after me very, very well. But I wanted to be riding Thunderbolts because all the top guys in the UK are riding Thunderbolts, and I trust them.
Yeah.
These guys surf well. They don't ride them just because they look pretty.
Yeah. So I've seen you've used the is it the pacemaker, and
I've used 3 or 4 models so far.
Yeah, and the what's the other one? The cherry picker as well.
Yeah, that's one of but they're both Ben's models. Yeah.
Yeah. Both of them look very nice boards.
Yeah. To be fair, I haven't ridden a bad Thunderbolt. They're all really good boards. It's the cherry picker is so sort of strange in many ways, but it works. Yeah. It goes. I rode a CJ Nelson model one day, and I couldn't wait to get the cherry picker back, and I thought I was going to love the CJ Nelson.
Right.
That's interesting.
What is it about it then? What's
the board?
Yeah.
Just the board. I mean, the nose riding ability that comes from the flick in the tail is unreal. You can just stay there and for as long as you like, and it will just lock in and hold. Oh. So it doesn't really matter how steep. I mean, I'm surfing an 11-inch fin, I think, in it.
Yeah.
which is the board that Ben recommends with it. But it doesn't matter how steep it gets, it won't drop out. And if you outrun the section while still on the nose, it will still lift. It will still stay there and gives you extra time to get back.
Oh, man.
It's cheating.
Is that the?
I was going to say I want one.
Is that the board that you're using in competitions then?
In small waves.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
And how do you feel in competitions? Are you happy to be back and competing, and you're loving it again?
There's definitely the thing that I've sort of learnt is that my head is in a better place for competing. I'm not putting the silly pressure on myself because I don't. In many ways, I don't really care. I'm there for me. I'm there because I want to improve. I feel in my head that I've got the ability to surf better than I ever have before.
Yeah. I think that comes with age and experience, though, doesn't it, as well?
Exactly, 100%. Yeah. 100%, definitely. And it's nothing and it's just whether I can get my body to do what my mind thinks it can do, which we'll see. But I think I've got the head for it now. Yeah. I think I've got the head for the competitive approach. And when you look at surfing, a lot of competitors have their best years when they're in their later years, especially in longboarding. So, I feel confident. I know I'm a long way away, especially when it comes to consistency, but I didn't surf with anyone in the last couple of contests that I didn't think that in time I'll be able to match.
That's a nice thought. That's a nice feeling, I bet.
Yeah.
That's not how I thought I would feel after doing them.
No. Oh, that's great, isn't it? What a positive thought to have when you're being out in the water competing.
Yeah, something else I was going to say on the side of like sponsors and that. Could you see it go in the way of sort of like affiliate marketing, the way that works? Whereas like surfers now a brand would sign a surfer and say, if you can sell, do you know what I'm trying to go to? Like, if you can sell this much, or if this much item of your clothing smells, we'll pay you. Sells. So this much item of your clothing sells, we'll pay you this much. That would be
my clothing smells because I've just got home from work and had a shower.
My clothing smells because I'm just dirty.
It's that Bristol air, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right.
It's too close to the wave.
Going back to that and what you were saying before with the way sponsorship changed. I mean, back in the day when you were a junior, a shop or a brand would just want the local community to see their wetsuit, their board, their whatever being used and get it out to as many people as possible. So they'd give the young lads, right, okay, here's a couple of suits a season, off you go, and that was about it, really. Now it's different. That's why you have the term brand ambassadors and all the rest of it. Ultimately, it's sort of working with the brand, really. You're an extension of a sales person. You're getting their brand out there, which is why I very much only really believe in, I want to use products that I believe in. I wouldn't want to use something that I wouldn't sell to someone.
Yeah, I think we can get that. People we've been approached by since doing this podcast, and it's like, would you be interested in like selling this or advertising this? And we're like, nah, not in, no interest in some of that stuff.
Have Love Honey rung yet?
I've got them on speed dial, so
my mate's right into Love Honey, so let me know if you do.
Well, Ashley, we really appreciate you coming on. Just before you go, have you got any competitions that you're booked into, or like what have you got coming up for the future?
So we've got this weekend, Polzeth, Christian Surfers UK do their longboard event down there. It's a brilliant event. That one's pretty reasonable to enter, and they look after you, they feed you, and good event, good feeling. So looking forward to that either way, not to, whatever happens. And the Masters is over 35s, which is good. So I get to enter the old gits category. Whereas elsewhere it's 40. So, and the weekend after is hopefully the rescheduled BLU that was supposed to be at Fistral last week.
Right.
That got cancelled because the forecast was for basically a hurricane, and it was the other way around from the Michael Fish scenario. We didn't actually get one.
Yes, it happens, doesn't it?
And then there is one in Wales at Rest Bay for the British Longboard Union, but the due date for our baby is the 22nd of November, so I don't think I'll be going to Wales.
Well, congratulations on the baby.
Thank you.
So, if anyone wants to out there find you or, sponsor you. Where's the best place for them to find you online?
However, my website's up and running. As much as it is basic, I am working on that. Sorry, I'm not an expert, but I've been very lucky. I've got a lot of people offering to help. So hopefully, through my website, ashleybraunton.com, or any of the social media. Oh, yeah, not Facebook, because I've been banned from Facebook again.
What have you been banned for?
I put a picture up. It was in context. There was nothing wrong with it. I put a picture up and it had a boob in it, and they banned me for 30 days.
What can you do?
Well, here's one for you. A group of sea swimmers that go to Westwood Ho mentioned Westwood Ho in a post, and they got banned.
No way.
Oh, it's ridiculous, isn't it? It was quite nice the other day when it all went down for like 6 hours.
It was
bloody
nice.
Peaceful.
They let me back in briefly as well.
And then very, very quickly, the last couple of things before you go, I've got some quick fire questions that I normally ask. First of all, if you could only surf one place for the rest of your life, where would that be?
At home, minus the people. Like some people at home in September.
At home in September, nice time of year. And then, if you could only take one board with you anywhere you were going to surf, what board would that be?
Progressive Mal.
Yeah,
nice.
Yeah, but I might need more than one because I'd probably snap it.
All right, on that one, then one of the other questions on there was, and can you remember what your biggest wipeout you've ever had was?
I can't really, no. Well,
is that because it was that bad? You can't remember.
That's what I'm wondering. Yeah, I am wondering that. Yeah, there's too much salt water on the brain. No, there was one situation. So when I hadn't been surfing for a long time. Sorry, I'll try and make this short. But I hadn't been surfing for a long time. It was during the time that I was doing that job, but it was just before I sort of stopped surfing. So I hadn't surfed a lot for about 2 or 3 years. And some mates of mine said, we're going to do a trip to the Maldives. Who's in? And I was like, I'm getting married in a couple of years. I might never get this chance again. Yeah. So I was like, I went home and said, I'm going to the Maldives, which went down really well. As you can imagine.
And I'm going without you.
Yeah. So off we go, going to the Maldives. I'd been surfing like twice in the previous 6 months. I was like, yeah, it'll be all right. And then I had a brand new shortboard, which actually was from Surf Tech, an amazing board, one of those that you should never sell. And we were at Jails, and it was quite busy, building swell. I was sort of down the end, just trying to pick a couple off. And the solid double overhead set came through. And I was desperately trying to get away, so I duck dived the first set, and then another set came pretty soon after. And I went to go on one, changed my mind, and went over the falls riding the pony.
Oh, no.
If you don't know what that means, I was sat on my board going over the falls.
Leighton did that in Putsborough, but went over the falls riding the pony backwards. It's hilarious. It's the funniest thing I've ever seen.
Hilarious. Does that get extra points? I don't know. But, so I went over the falls, got a kick in, snapped my leash, board ended up on the reef, and then I got caught by another couple of sets without a board. Obviously no wetsuit on, so no flotation. So I was out of shape. I'd had a kick in, and then it took me 20 minutes to swim to the boat.
Oh, no. Nightmare. That's probably that class is a bad wipeout.
Yeah. That's worse than your Putsborough one.
Yeah, definitely.
I don't know. Any wipeout at Putsborough is never a good one, though.
No, that's right. Actually, yeah. We always have quite...
We've said this before, but the place terrifies me. Every time, I don't know what it is, but every time we go there, something happens. Like, we've had... My friend's dislocated his knee there. The guy, when we were there, got his face cut open by, I don't know what part of the board hit him, but it was like hammering out blood everywhere. Yeah. My leash has snapped. Leighton's gone over the falls backwards.
Yeah, and that's where I had what I'd experienced as like my first ever hold down, really. And it's probably only under the water for like 4 seconds or something like that. But when it's 4 seconds and you can't get up no matter how much you try, that may as well be 4 minutes. It's bloody terrible.
And it's cost you 20 quid to park for an hour as well.
That's so right. No, don't get us going on that.
You don't want to get me going on it.
I want to get you. I should have got you going on the Saunton one that I saw you post about the car park.
Yeah, they love me down there.
Oh yeah.
It is really bad. It is. So, because it's... Well, no, I won't say it.
No,
I was going to say
it. Don't say it. I was going to say we go somewhere else because the parking's cheaper, but I'm not going to say that either. So
no, well, we've got a season ticket, but let's just hope they stay.
Yeah,
that's what I'm going to say.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much for taking the time to talk to us.
Yeah, we really appreciate it. Thank you.
No, thanks, guys. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for that, Ashley. I can say it, like I say every time. A lovely guy.
Yeah, he is a nice guy, actually.
Yeah.
And, it's a good story of...
It's a comeback story. I felt like there should have been a rocky music in the background. You know what I mean?
Yeah, where he's stopped surfing for quite a number of years and has come back into competing. And like he was saying, the struggles it is now. Like, I can't believe the cost of, like... competitions of how much he worked out just to do one competition, £120.
Yeah, and then like he said, there's no prize money or anything. It's almost like, I don't want to say what's the point, but what is the point?
Yeah, no, I know exactly what you mean. Like pay out £120 for no
reason. Yeah, because you're going to enter a competition to obviously win and then get your name out there as well. So £120 for that seems a bit ridiculous. But he did explain why it is so expensive now. So, what he meant to do. So, it'd be great if he got some sponsorship to help him.
Go and check him out on his website and go and check him out on Instagram. He's on there. He's not on Facebook because he got banned, like you said. But his Instagram and he's got quite a good blog on his website with things that he's doing, things he's been on.
He's very honest as well with
very honest, with
his mental health and things like that, and struggles he's been through. Very, very, very honest. So
So the codes for Northcore. The code for Northcore has now changed to SS2021. That is SS2021, and that is valid till the 31st of December, and that will get you 15% off anything you order from Northcore.
Or you can go over to Logfinco and get 10% off anything you purchase there by using the discount code the UK Surf Show 10.
And don't forget that one for Kosin, our show sponsors today, again, is UK Surf 10.
Okay, yeah, while we're on that, a few people have been asking about how they can support the show. Obviously, the show's free and you get it on any of your podcast providers, which has been really nice for people to say that. So we put out a post on Instagram on how you can support the show. And it's just a little video showing you where you can go on our website to support the show. And it doesn't cost you any money. It's basically an affiliate program to help us out. So, for instance, if you were going to surf at the wave, if you went to our website and clicked on the menu as a drop-down menu that will say support the show, and you can follow the link to book your session at the wave, and there's just a percentage of that comes to us to help support the show. There's a few others on there as well.
There's a few others on the website, like Leighton just said. So you can buy us a coffee, which is just an app on there, and you can donate to the show. You can buy something from our shop, stickers we've got in there. And I've just been talking to a man about some T-shirts.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Like Leighton said, book the Bristol Wave if you book through our website. We've got the Pop-Up Pro on there, and we've got some other affiliate programs which are all listed on that page. So anything of that helps towards running the cost of the show, the hosting of the website, the equipment we have to buy, new wires, new microphones, all sorts of stuff like that, which some of it doesn't come cheap.
No, but it's really nice people inquiring on how they could help, so that's why we sorted that out, didn't we?
Yes.
Yeah, and we would really appreciate it. So that's it for today's show.
Yeah, don't forget to go and check out those places we've provided the discount codes for, and some really good things on there: Logfins, Northcore, and Kosin.
Yep, and our next episode is
The Anatomy of a Surfer, Part 1.
Ooh.
It's a 2-part because it's a long one. But but
it would be obvious because you said part 1. You don't need to then go on and go, it's a 2-part.
Oh, yeah. See you later.
Cheers, bye.